kick me out. There we go. All right. So we need to make a change. We were a pretty successful team in the conference, but we had a lot of years where we just couldn't get a playoff win, save our life. We had 3 years in a row we played under the old playoff system where they paired you by geography. We were closer geographically to Marshfield than Central was, so we went to play them, and they were always pretty tough. Sometimes they're two best teams in Group 8, and we played some battles. We just couldn't get over that hump to get a win. And then we went down to Wadakee one year, and the Russo kid was their running back, and that didn't end well. We get like 62 points. Couldn't tackle him to save our life. A lot of people had that problem that year, though. But we kind of stopped after that season, reflected, and said, geez, if we're going to be able to compete at that level, we're going to have to tackle better. That's just all there is to it, and we're going to have to make some changes by the way we do things, because if we didn't change them, we maybe have some success against some conference teams. Okay, we win some close games, and then we go into the playoffs and we get our team kicked in again. We didn't want that anymore. We wanted to make sure we were progressing. We wanted to make sure we were being able to compete at that next level. So my arrows aren't working, so I'm going to click through the whole time. All right. We were really having experience next season. We had to win out the playoffs, but then we kind of got over the hump. Went to Menominee, tackled really well in that game against some good players. Got a little playoff win. Got a home playoff game. Got that. Ran to Marshfield getting level 3, but and they kind of their numbers really wore us down throughout that game. But we started to see some success. We started seeing the things that we were trying to do over the last 2 years show up in games where kids weren't backing down. They weren't backing down from really good athletes. The technique stuff we were working with, wrapping legs and squeezing knees, was showing up in games, and we were tackling the kids in the open field, one-on-one situations that are allowing us a chance to reset. When a team maybe made a big play, it was a 20-yard game, not a 50-yard touchdown. Okay, so that kind of told us, hey, maybe we're onto something here. So we doubled down on that in practice. We had a good year. Went on to the semis. Lost tough one to the Winona Grove, who won state title in D3. And then we started to see this change in our kids, because the young kids always take their direction from the old kids. And since the old kids have been through a few years of, hey, we're going to tackle practice, we're going to get after it. The kids kind of embrace the new normal. That's something we're going to have to do if we're going to be successful. I don't want to say we're not beating our kids up and bashing our heads in every day, but we have a period of our practice, usually near the beginning of our practice, where we are getting after it, and we have to. And we've tried it. We really, until the playoffs roll around, that's kind of what we do. When we tried to back off that, it seems like those were our worst games we played. Our kids didn't seem to be ready to go out the gates. For our kids, they need to have the repetition and practice in order to be successful. It's just what we've come to find. So when we set out to improve our tackling about 4 or 5 years ago, we tried to find something we could consistently teach that would be easy to teach and easy to learn. We're not trying to get our kids to be perfect all the time, okay? And we wanted to really show stuff that showed up in a game. We didn't want to depend on our ability to be in a 5-yard one-on-one window where we're going to be able to square up, sink our hips, throw the hammers, grab the cloth. That doesn't happen very much. It just doesn't. When that does happen, that's great technique. That's good stuff. That will tackle people. But kids just don't get in those situations very often in games that we found anyway. Everybody's probably seen the Seahawk tackling stuff that Pete Carroll did. It's available through Huddle. I think everybody kind of gravitated towards that for that reason, right? Because it was practical. And it gave sometimes undersized kids a chance. If you have, let's say the running back's 200 pounds and coaches were talking before I started here about, you got the 140-pound corner who, boy, he's maybe a freshman or sophomore and he's trying to compete. Yeah, Billy, let's square up and throw the clubs and grab cloth and see how that goes. It's not going to be very good for Billy. Being able to tackle low, wrap legs, and work some other kinds of technique that would that help them be more successful, that maybe shows up more in the game than the traditional stuff, was something we really gravitated towards. We just wanted to really move away from mechanical technique that really just didn't show up in games a lot. Like I described, we really emphasize this low tackle. It's really used by everybody, but especially with DBs, especially in the open field, linebackers when they have an angle on a kid, okay, so maybe not right in the hole on like an ISO play, you might be more your traditional straight ahead tackling stuff there. But D-line chasing a guy down the line, okay, so chasing flat, they're all going to be on angles already, and obviously for safety purposes the head needs to be up, but also you need to be able to see what you're hitting, just to be a proficient tackler. We really want the eyes to be through the thighs, okay, and really trying to get the hips to sink down rather than bending over at the waist and looking at the ground. We want to really sink down and shoot the eyes through the thighs. If you have a wrestling background, it's going to be familiar because it's what they do. There's a reason why, when wrestlers go take somebody down, they don't square up and shoot the clubs. They try to do it that way, right? They're grabbing legs. So we want to shoot through and extend the legs. Feel that gives the kids a good opportunity to deliver quite a bit of force, even if you're not the biggest kid on the field. So we want to remove the runner's base strength, and then it also affects the ball carrier's balance when you're able to wrap legs, squeeze the knees. Kids need confidence, and tell them, hey, they might be big, but your kneecaps are all the same size. Okay, the kneecaps are all the same size. Wrap around the knees, squeeze them together, try to take the legs out, and kids buy into that because we found that by teaching that, they are able to bring that big kid down sometimes. And under maybe your more traditional, and I'm not bagging on the old traditional form tackling stuff that I think we've all seen, but under that model, some of those kids were just at a physics disadvantage where they just didn't have enough, force is mass times acceleration. When your M is real small, it doesn't matter sometimes. So hopefully this gives them an opportunity to compete on a level playing field. One thing to point out, when we're driving on an angle, we're all to the path of the ball carrier, we don't want our kids just diving. That's not what I'm saying, okay? We're not out of control. It's really sinking the hips, and it's very similar to, it's a wrestling takedown. It's a wrestling shot. It's a penetration type step, okay? So we're just lowering the aiming point. Okay? We still do work a bit of it. It's definitely not emphasized chest tackle. You're more standard linebacker in the hole, meeting ball carrier on a stunt. All of a sudden you're filling a gap, and there he is, and he's right there, and we're closing space. Again, head up. This is just a higher aiming point. Try to get face mask in the armpit to get as much surface on the ball carrier as possible. Use a variety of cues with that. Biting the ball is one of them with the face mask. Trying to make sure that we're squared up and in a position where we can wrap up. We want to throw hammers and grab cloth. If we are tackling above the waist, we want to make sure we have a hold of something, because there is going to be that situation where that kid's really, really strong, and that initial contact isn't taking them straight to their back. So we want to keep our feet running, not stop our feet and become something that's going to run over. We want to drive through, but keep the cloth, and I say give the cavalry a chance. Hopefully, if we taught it right, we have other guys running with the football. There should be more people coming. Give them a chance. Hold them up. That's your last resort kind of situation. Right, obviously, we're not just trying to hang on and wait. But if in that first contact you drive your legs, they're not going down. Hopefully, if you can keep them wrapped up, we're going to have some more help. And then that's when you have a lot of the good stuff we saw earlier today from a variety of coaches on turnover circuit stuff, where the second guy there can start punching the ball and ripping the wall out, which is something we definitely emphasize a lot. Also too, with some of the drills I'm going to show, I'm going to get through kind of our progression and show you why we do what we do, and then I'll show you what we do. And when I go through the drills and the diagrams and the drills, when we do a lot of those, the kids get good at transitioning. So you may start like this and start to lose it, but because we've done so much of the low tackling with the wrapping legs, the kids will slide down the legs, wrap and roll, or wrap and take them to their side there.